Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Retro Gamers Podcast, episode number 399. Larry here.
And Anthony here.
And what is going on, good sir?
You know what? Another week has gone by. There was very little gaming to be had because we are in the throes of the holiday season and everything is crazy.
Not only that, but I also did not play a lot of games. But the amount of games that we bought on Black Friday, you would think we'd be busy all week long.
I know, because we had quite the showcase last week of stuff we purchased, and I can say with 100% certainty I played none of them.
None of the physical games I bought from Game On I have yet tested or even tried to think about inserting into a console this past week and a half.
Well, in my defense, 11 of the games I purchased I can't test because I don't have the console.
That is true. And look, I've been there, done that. So when I bought the N64 originally, I had gotten the games before the system was even available. So I was sitting there for a week staring at Cruise in USA.
Nice. But then I gave you an N64.
No, you did recently. I'm talking about originally when it first came out.
Oh, originally. Way back. Oh, that's right. When you first said yes. That story, that old story.
You gave me an N64, and I have the analog 3D getting ready to come in, hopefully.
On the way.
Q1 2025.
Yep, and you got to build up that N64 collection.
And you know what? It's an episode we can talk about in the future.
What?
Really,
wait a minute. Wait. The future ends next week with you.
The future. It's been difficult for me shopping for physical N64 games. And yeah, it was super quick just to touch on. I'm not going to go into details.
Yeah.
But I didn't have, I guess looking back on it, I didn't have a large N64 collection.
Okay.
I love the N64. Don't get me wrong. The games that I played were hits. Majority of them, of course, were first party, but hey, look, they worked. And besides the wrestling games, I'm really struggling to find like really good games that also, again, for the most part, you know me, if I already have it digitally, I'm fine with that. I'm comfortable with that. So like with the N64 collection on the Switch has a lot of those games, which I'm fine with. Right now, my go-to right now that I want to get is Donkey Kong 64. But with the 30th anniversary of Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Country, and with Nintendo Switch like they just released the Game Boy games and everything like that, my luck, I'll buy Donkey Kong 64 physically, and then they're going to drop it on the Switch, Nintendo Switch Online. So
most likely, but you need those physical games. Otherwise, what's the purpose of having the analog 3D?
This is episode 399. Do you really need to ask yourself why I'm buying something if I'm not even really going to use it that much?
That's fair.
Okay, that's shame on you. Okay.
No, look, I will take that shame. If I could, I would take a walk of shame right now.
My poor Turbo Duo is just my analog Duo just sitting there, and I'm concerned because I saw some people online going, "Oh, I bought it 8 months ago, the analog Duo, barely used it, decided to put in a TurboGrafx CD game, and now the drive don't work." So now I'm like,
have you tried it?
I have. I play it very much occasionally. I just updated it, actually. So I know it turns on at least.
Well, all right. I mean, that's at least a plus. You got to start with something. Turns on. Great.
That's true.
My Sega CD used to turn on all the time, but it didn't play anything because it was broken.
Mine too. Mine just stopped working one day, and I panicked because I'm like, oh, I broke it.
Yeah. Well, you probably did.
I probably did. So with that being said, though, before we get into today's topic, which again, if you read the post from this episode, you'll know what it's all about.
Or the open of the show.
That too. Yeah, true too. Our shopping didn't necessarily stop at Black Friday. Really kind of even didn't stop at Cyber Monday. But I picked up a few more, all on the digital side. I'm not going to lie to you, but I did pick up a few more games that were on sale. Some of which are classic games, that were released.
So you rented a few more games for an extended period of time.
I own them. Forget that. No, I own them. They're not taking them away from me. I can still play X-Men Arcade on my Xbox 360. They have yet to take it away.
When was the last time you turned it up?
That's true. I'm scared to try and re-download it because technically I should be able to, but that's a whole nother story.
Yep.
Um, I'm just going to go through this real quick. Nothing really to talk
Yeah,
about.
yeah, sure.
But I talked about it last week. I pulled the trigger on it because it'd be stupid not to. On the Xbox Series X, I picked up Tomb Raider Remaster 1, 2, and 3. Again, it was the
Nice.
cheapest of the three systems, $15. So
Yep.
as much as I wanted on PlayStation,
I
I
was
got
just gonna
cheap.
say though, because Lara Croft is synonymous with PlayStation, I would have had a hard time buying it for Xbox.
Listen, it was like the last. So the new thing online is now, I think by law, they have to tell you how long the sale lasts for a digital
Oh,
sale
okay.
because
Yeah.
all three systems will tell you how many days are left. And this one was like almost like a countdown at this point. I'm like, you know what? I'll
Oh,
just do
okay.
it. So I pulled it, is what it is. For the Switch, I I realize I've been calling it wrong the last couple weeks. I'm shocked no one called me out on it. It's not the Gold Medal series, it's the Gold Master series from
Ah,
Digital Eclipse. I bought Tetris Forever, which I just
nice.
got through. I just finished a documentary on that one. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Amazing
Really?
documentary.
Okay. Very cool.
And they even like dropped a hint, not even a hint, they just said it in passing because they were talking about the Tetris movie that was on Apple, the
Yep.
biopic.
Yep.
And they're like, oh well, while we were in the midst of talk of negotiating for the Tetris sci-fi movie, we're like, what? Like, I can't believe they actually mentioned the sci, but that's like the only part of it you mentioned about
Mhm.
the sci-fi movie. But anyway, great thing. I picked up the first two Gold Master Series games, the making of Karateka,
Nice.
and I've never played Karateka before until this was the first time I
Oh,
played it.
Karatica's a fun game.
Never played it. I played the Apple II version, the original version
Yeah.
that's on there. There's like six different versions on there,
Yeah.
including prototypes. Oh my God, it's so much fun. So much
Yeah.
fun to play. And then another one that I kept calling it wrong. It's called Llama Soft, the Jeff Minter story. Jeff Minter, who just made all these crazy, wacky, so much fun games, like in the 80s or 90s or something like that. So I picked those. So now I have all three right now. Those are all on the Switch. Can't wait to
Nice.
start. I started watching the Karateka documentary. So that's pretty cool.
All right.
And then
Very cool.
finally on the PS5, I picked up and some of these were on sale, the Uncharted collection, which are the first three games in the Uncharted
Yes.
series.
Very cool.
Then I picked up Uncharted Legacy of Thieves, which is Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy.
Okay.
And then I picked up for the PSP Loco Roco on the PS5.
All right. Never played Logo.
Very fun game. All it is really, you just use the shoulder buttons to
Yeah.
rotate the board and move your character. That's how you do it.
Oh, interesting.
Very
Okay.
fun game, especially on the PSP. And then I picked up for the PS2 because the television series is actually based on this one, Twisted Metal Black
Ah, nice.
on the
Okay.
PS5.
Very
So
nice.
those were my most recent purchases. That's why I wasn't playing games. I was too busy watching the Tetris documentary.
You're watching the documentary. All right. Well, you know what? That's fair. At least that was something video game related.
It was. It
Uh,
was.
yeah. My gaming this week was very, very minuscule because I was just busy. Like work was
Oh my God, me
busy.
too.
Yeah, work was really busy this week, and there were just other things going on that we're trying to take care of because the holiday season is upon us, and
Yep.
um,
Whoop-dee-da.
yeah, blink and it's going to be Christmas. I mean, we've already only got like what 2.5 weeks left.
Just
Oh no,
about.
sorry,
Just
two
about.
weeks. 2 weeks when this episode drops, more or less, till Christmas. So I did not take advantage of any of the digital sales this time around, mostly because a lot of the stuff I want is physical. So I
Okay,
want
fair.
so I mentioned this one last week, but it showed up in the mail. I did get my PS5 copy of Tomb Raider Remastered,
Very good. Very good.
which is nice. So yeah, I love it, except when I hear the
Oh, there's a card, and that might be a download. Yeah.
yeah, it's either a card or like if it is no, I'm assuming it is a disc. It's just the disc is the disc is
Oh,
the
even worse. Yeah.
so I gotta open this up and make sure it works.
Oh, dear.
So that was and that game wise, I go. That's all I had. That's all I got in the mail for actual games. However, my new obsession when I'm online is Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace is my new Craigslist.
Okay.
So I go on there all the time and I just look for random things, and sometimes random things pop up, and I'm like, "Ooh, this is interesting." And I saw something I just had to pick up.
Okay.
So and
You're on the
it's
move.
a total thrower. Oh shoot! So the new camera I have automatically starts tracking, and I don't know what's causing it.
I'm
So
telling you, it's your hand gestures, but we'll check that in post.
it's definitely the hand gestures. But what? Yeah, but on my screen, I have the controls for it.
Yeah.
So whenever it does it, I turn it back off. But I need to figure out a way to just be like, no, don't turn on. I'll press it if I turn
This
it
is
on.
an ongoing battle I'm gonna miss.
Yeah. Well, you'll what? You're not going to watch the show?
I listen.
Oh, that hurts. Hurts in all my feels.
Mm.
Anyway, so so I saw something on Facebook Marketplace I had to get. I think you're gonna love this when you see it. It's a total throwback. But I got myself
Oh,
the original 1980, right? 1980 Pac-Man lunchbox.
look at that. Oh, if you're listening, folks, go tune in on YouTube or Spotify. That is
Yep.
awesome.
So the copyright's on it from 1980. And then here's the other side. So you can see this one side where
I was gonna say, I don't remember that logo.
But
That
how about
design.
the
I
other
remember
side?
that design.
This side. So
Yes.
yep. So somebody had this up on Facebook Marketplace, and they were in my area. So and the price was really good, and obviously in excellent condition.
Very.
So really happy to get that. And yeah, I know there's some noise
More
going on
importantly,
in here. It has the thermos.
That's where your money lies. Actually, is the thermos.
It has the thermos, which is kind of cool.
Look at
Really,
that.
really cool stuff. And look, it tells you where to put the thermos in the
They always
lunchbox.
did. I think they always
don't
did for the
remember
most
that.
part. Yeah.
I don't remember that they had an actual sign. Like the thermos goes on this side. Now
I never remember that.
I'm afraid to open the thermos.
Oh,
because I don't
God knows
know.
what's in there.
Yeah, I definitely do not want to know. But I'm really, really happy to get this.
Good.
And
You and Dave Batista can now collect lunch boxes.
No.
Vintage
This
lunch
is just
boxes.
This is
Okay.
a one and done lunchbox, I think, unless a Super Mario lunchbox pops up. And then one of the other things I got on Black Friday, and I had to take advantage of this because this, for the price, it was just a must-own, Larry. And I know I've given you some flack for this over the years, but I now have an Atari VCS.
Oh my God! Look at this. What the hypocrisy?
Yep.
What is
There we
happening
go.
right
Look at
now?
this. Well, it's not a virtual. But so on Black Friday, Atari was selling the VCS for $80. So 60% off its $200 price tag. And I'm like, okay, for $80 it's worth getting. But there was another reason why I decided this was probably worth purchasing. Besides the fact, I do love Atari. I didn't think the VCS was worth owning, as Larry knows the last.
It's been well documented
multiple times. But it said that this version of the Atari comes with Antstream Arcade, and Antstream Arcade for the lifetime membership is $100. So if the Antstream Arcade is included in this, then I got the VCS and a lifetime subscription to Antstream Arcade for $80. And that's why I pulled the trigger. And that's why I pulled the trigger. I pulled it more for the Antstream Arcade than anything else.
That's fair.
Yeah, and you know what? It's nice. It's kind of the same way when I bought the Sony PlayStation Mini. I never had a plan to buy it, but when I wound up paying $12 for it,
please stop with the prices because
yes,
look, I don't mind that I paid full price for both these products, and quite frankly, that the normal manufacturer retail price of the Atari VCS is $200. I am pretty sure I paid $300 and something, and I got the exact same bundle. I am pretty sure.
Wow, you got ripped off. So anyway, as usual,
which
I got
what's the
it's got the wood grain on. It's got the wood grain on the front.
So did mine. Where's my emails?
Well, that's the other thing. Like the base model, they had the base model without Antstream Arcade on sale also for $60, and it did not include the wood grain. So I paid the extra $20 to get the wood grain version and Antstream Arcade. So gonna enjoy that.
Where is? Oh wait, did I find my?
So
no, that's something else. All right, never mind.
So anyway, so yes, I now have an Atari VCS. By the way, it's also, to my understanding, I think it's the last run of the VCS that they're doing.
Aww.
And on top of that, the sales were going so well on Black Friday that I think it was like maybe all of like 20 or 30 minutes after the order was placed, which, by the way, John, thank you for getting this for me because I was out of the country at the time and it wouldn't let me order it when I was out of the country. But like 20 or 30 minutes after we ordered it, they bumped the price up to $100.
Nice.
So it must have been selling well. They were like, "Oh, we probably discounted this too much."
That's like
Um,
when I stumbled across Frasier, the entire series digitally for $10, when normally
yep.
even on sale it's like 30.
Yeah,
So
that's a good buy.
yeah,
I
very good.
almost put, you know what I almost bought, and I should have bought it when I saw it. I was in Target. They had the complete Voltron series, the original
Ooh,
Voltron series, all 7 seasons. I think it was
Lion and
7 or 8.
Vehicle?
No, 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 the DVDs.
No, 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 no. I meant the
Oh,
series, meaning the Lion episodes and then the Vehicle episodes.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, for $30.
Wow, that's not bad at all.
I know. I should have grabbed it, but I did not. But anyway, I'm very happy to have Antstream Arcade in my collection potentially through my VCS for an incredible price.
You do not deserve the goodness of the Atari
What are you
VCS. I'm going to
talking
tell
about?
you right
Yes.
now.
What do you mean? Woo!
How dare you, sir? As you're going to sit there trying to
this is
figure out how to jam a
this is
cartridge
what I
in.
do. This is what I do with my cat when the camera's off. That's why he throws up everywhere.
Thank God your camera's still stationary, or else it would have flipped out.
I know that would have been funny. But yes, but
Well,
that completes the
enjoy the
purchase.
Atari VCS, and I'm going to tell you right now, you rat bum. As soon as you start playing it with the original controller, the original Atari
Hmm.
controller,
Yeah.
that nostalgia wash is good, because I think it might come free. Well, also like Atari. I mean, don't get me wrong. We have like both of us have purchased these things collections
Everything.
ad
Yeah.
nauseum. But when you play with the original controller, there is a different feel to it. That like, okay, this is how it's
Well,
supposed to be.
Larry, remember my original Atari 2600 is hooked up in my guest
No,
room,
no, no.
so I've been playing with an original controller.
I know that. But what I'm saying, like games you might not have,
Oh, got
and
it.
to roll, I'm trying to sell this system to other people. Come on now.
Oh, but why don't you get a job at Atari then?
Well, trust me. At this point, I'll take a janitorial staff job. Uh,
I'm sure they're hiring.
Urinal cakes.
My
All right.
goodness.
So very cool pie though, and I'm very happy that you got it. To be honest with you, I'd love to see the day you actually open it and set it up. So that'd be interesting as well.
That'll be like 2026.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's get into the meat and potatoes then of this episode, because we're talking about a lot. We've already talked about, I mentioned Donkey Kong Country's 30th anniversary. We're talking about the
Yep.
Atari, which is about 75 years old. But let's talk about a monumental anniversary that just passed on one of the greatest systems of all time, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. December 3rd, 1994, a day that will live in infamy for Nintendo because December 3rd, 1994 was the birth, or not the birth, but the actual release of the Sony PlayStation in Japan. It is celebrating its 30th retro birthday, and what a birthday! Sony hit it out of the park, and Nintendo crashed miserably on this one.
We never heard from Nintendo again.
That's
Nintendo
right.
fell to the wayside. Sony
That's
took
right.
over the world. Yes, the PlayStation, of course, the Genesis, no pun intended, of the PlayStation, which got us all the way to the PS5 today, PS5 Pro, excuse me.
Yep.
Um, and we're gonna talk about some memories of our with the PlayStation. I know Lance probably gonna have some stats on the PlayStation, but we can't start talking about the PlayStation without even Andy, even you joking about Nintendo, about how the PlayStation started and what we almost could have gotten, which
Mhm.
to me still would have been. I still can't wrap my head around if we would have gotten what we would have gotten through Nintendo.
Yep.
But Ann, I don't know if you want to, start talking about how this whole thing started.
Yeah. So the PlayStation's origins, I'm sure a lot of people listening or watching know some of this, and we're gonna kind of give it a brief overview. Was that Sony had gone into business with Nintendo because Nintendo had realized that cartridges were limited, right? So, and this was back in the early 90s. They knew
Yeah.
cartridges were limited and CDs were already on the rise. And not just in PCs, but at the time, TurboGrafx had already come out with their CD version. So the CD based systems were coming or already arriving. So Nintendo struck a deal with Sony in the early 90s to add a CD edition to the Super Nintendo. So they weren't initially looking for a new system. They wanted an add-on to their Super Nintendo. So they worked very closely with Sony on that, leading up to the Computer Entertainment Show of 1993. It was at this show when there was going to be this big reveal between Nintendo and Sony that they've been working on, what people call online the Super Nintendo PlayStation,
Yeah.
which would be the PlayStation ad, which would be the CD add-on to the Super Nintendo. So we get all the way to the Computer Entertainment Show. Sony is ready to present this thing. And Nintendo turns around to the CEO and says, hey, we just entered a deal with Philips. We're going to be doing stuff on their CD-based system that they're working on. So we're breaking our deal with you. So literally, like, Sony went from literally on the verge of like presenting this thing to the world, to the masses, to having no deal. The deal completely fell through. Now, granted, I don't know all the legal stuff behind it in terms of like if contracts were signed or any of that. Whatever it was, it just went on. So obviously Sony was really upset about this. Nintendo eventually would be upset when they saw the games that came out on the CDI.
Yeah.
Karma, right?
I just watched a video recently of like bad on YouTube of bad Nintendo Mario game endings. And I've never seen these before. The endings to basically the CDI games, like Hotel Mario, the Zelda games. Oof.
Well, forget about that. Just even playing through them.
Oh, yeah, that too. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I've seen the playthrough, but I've never seen like the endings.
Yeah. So, so to get back to the story, I was trying to get the CEO's name. Sean Layden was the Sony executive, and he was recently interviewed about this because of the 30th anniversary, and he talked about how they were at CES in '93. They were going to announce this. Nintendo, and he says, and Nintendo left us standing at the altar after they did a pivot at the last minute to go with Philips. Okay. So then the person who was working on the PlayStation basically said on the CD drive, all I need is an operating system and some connecting tissue, and we can just have our own game system. So Sony turned around. They gave the former CEO, I think, Ken Kutaragi was his name. He basically said, I'll make a system out of this thing. So then they started a separate office. They built the Sony PlayStation, and a little under 2 years later, or a year and a half, they released the Sony PlayStation in December of 1994, and the rest is history. But yeah, the Sony PlayStation was originally going to be a Nintendo property.
One of the other issues that kind of for Nintendo, which is kind of funny because in the end, it kind of, I understand where Nintendo was coming from, but then like as you looked into the future from that point on, it was like it was going to bite him in the butt anyway. One of the issues was that Sony, with the original contract, or at least the contract from 1988, Sony was going to have full control over all games written on this quote-unquote SNES CD format. So Nintendo would not have had any control over that. And Nintendo. Yep. Nintendo like...
I was just to say, we all know how controlling Nintendo is. Well, first off, it's surprising to me that Nintendo would enter into a deal with them, granting them control, because we know the way Nintendo is. So, like, it seemed like an odd...
But this was
like an odd agreement.
But this was also in '88, before the original Super Mario Brothers movie, before the CDI debacles and stuff like that. So maybe they were trying. Let's face facts. Maybe they were trying to let's see what we can do to see how they. All right, let's navigate these waters. But with them ended up going to Philips because Philips gave Nintendo all right, Nintendo has full control over their games on Philips systems. I still don't know what went wrong at that point. I don't know who massively dropped the ball on that, but that's a whole nother ball game. No pun intended.
Well, my guess would be that they must have given, again, I didn't do the Philips side of it, but if they gave Philips they must have given Philips the control that they were going to give Sony, because Nintendo would never allow a Mario or a Zelda game to come out of that quality.
Something happened. But
Yeah.
in any event, so it was a control thing as well. But what
Yeah.
really, and I never realized it was this close. And I'm going to quote, granted, it's Wikipedia, so take it for what it's worth.
Oh
I'm going to quote,
yeah.
yeah, I'm going to
I
quote.
know what you're quoting.
So on the first day of the CES Consumer Electronics Show, Sony announced their partnership with Nintendo and their new console, the PlayStation. Two separate words.
Yep.
At 9 a.m. on the next day, in what has been called the greatest ever betrayal in the industry, Howard Lincoln stepped onto the stage and revealed that Nintendo was now allied with Philips and would abandon their work with Sony.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, that's like back then we didn't know what was going on. Back then we had
Yeah.
no idea of that. I don't even think I've ever heard of the CES until like a few years later.
Oh
But
yeah.
I wish I was like present during, maybe not even in the building, but present during that time, reading these news articles, being like,
Hmm.
what is going on?
Yeah. It's absolutely crazy, right? It's
But
absolutely crazy.
as usual, you know, sometimes in the most darkest of times comes the brightest of lights. Sony out of the out of the blocks with this PlayStation system,
Hmm.
and you know, the powerhouse that the system was, the games that it produced, the graphics that we were getting at the time. And granted, North
Yeah.
America didn't get it till almost a year later, like 9, 10 months later, but Japan was living in the future at that time, and
Yep.
you know, the world of gaming literally changed that day.
It definitely did. And we got a console that lasted for shoot, I don't know. It was released in 94. Okay. It did not get discontinued until March of 2006. That is a 12-year life cycle for a system. Now, at that point, the PlayStation 2 had been out for several years,
Yeah,
as did and the Xbox and the GameCube and all this stuff. They were already working on the PlayStation 3 at the time
yep.
when they finally discontinued the PS1. Just to give you an idea on like just how long and how successful the PlayStation 1 was. If I'm remembering correctly, I don't have the number exactly here. I believe the PlayStation 1 has the most games of any console ever created. Yeah, the PlayStation 1 to this day still has the record for the most games released on a home console,
Mhm.
over around 7,900 games, 7,900 games. The next greatest number for a home console is actually the PlayStation 3 with 5,100, to show you the difference. So we're talking about 2,800 game difference,
And
which,
but if you want to look at it
which is
this
crazy.
way, if you want to look at it this way, a lot of those games on the PS3 are like these mini games, almost like cell phone games that they just released on the
Mm,
PS3. So
yep.
like PS1 then would have like 7,000 like games worked on. You know what I mean? Like on
Yeah.
CDs. That's still a wild number to imagine.
Yeah. Just shy
Um,
of 8,000, which is crazy.
yeah, it's crazy. The
Um, yeah.
the legacy of the games though, and do you have the list of the launch titles, at least maybe the Japanese launch titles?
Yeah, I have the Japanese launch titles here. So there were 8 games in total that came out. First one, good luck with me saying this one. The first one was A4 Evolution Aresha de Iku 4.
Okay.
It's a simulation game, is it? Very it was I'm sorry, A4, yeah, A4 is an updated console only port of Take the A Train 4, the fourth main entry in Art Dink's long-running railroad management simulation series.
Dink 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 dink.
It's a dink dink dink. It's a straight port of the original PC title. So yeah, so that was one. Crime Crackers another
Okay.
one, which was an action adventure game.
Hmm.
You would like this one. It's got like that has like that female anime kind of Sailor Moonish look
What
to
is that
it.
supposed to mean? That I
No,
might
I'm
like
not.
it
I'm
just
not trying
because
to.
of that
I'm
hentai.
not saying anything. Mahjong Goku Tenjiku, Mahjong Station Mazin.
Oh,
So two
Mahjong is
Mahjong games.
huge over there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Neketsu Oyako, another action game. Ridge Racer,
Oh,
which sounds familiar. Tama Adventurous Ball in Giddy Labyrinth. And last but not least, probably the only one that you know from their launch, which is Parodius. Parodius was a
That was
launch
a
title.
launch title. I didn't realize that was a launch title.
Parodius,
Ooh,
yeah, Parodius was a launch title in Japan.
I have pro.
And I know you have
I
it
don't. No,
somewhere.
not on the PlayStation because I can't play Japanese
Mhm.
PlayStation games. If I only had a,
Oh, that's
if I only had
unfortunate.
a, yeah, only had a Polymega, which hopefully they will put out for these Harveys. Yes.
Ah, well, you know what? One day you might get a Polymega so you can play Parodius on the PlayStation. Or you can just wait for somebody to go to Japan again.
That's somewhat true as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So this world of CD based gaming, right? So
Yeah.
coming into this for us in North America, I
Yes.
know this is more the Japanese release, but we can only talk about us here in North America in the United States.
Mhm.
Um, I don't even remember going into the PlayStation. There were CD based computer games, none of which I really played because I was never a big PC gamer even back then.
Right.
So, like seeing this new format, being so used to cartridges, yes, I had the Sega CD, so I was like, oh, this is new. But I always took the Sega CD as not a fad, but just something like this is different, but it's not the
Mhm.
norm, or it won't
Right.
be the norm. Like to me, I thought it was always going to be cartridges. Like, did you have any first impressions of like seeing like a home system now that's all CD based, like CD games?
Yeah, well, no, at the time because I didn't own a PC with a CD-ROM yet. My first PC was in 96, if I'm
Okay.
remembering correctly. Um, so I did not have any experience playing PC games with CD games on a PC. I
Mhm.
did have a Sega CD, like we've talked about. And even though when you look back at those Sega CD games now, I mean, they're rough.
Some
They
of
are
them,
rough.
some of them are still gems.
There are always gems on the system, except the Virtual Boy.
How
But
dare you?
but I will say that I was always really impressed with the Sega CD. When I had it, I loved it. I loved the games on it. I understood that it was very limited in what it could do, but there was something about it that just I was really impressed because I knew that there was going to be more done with it.
Mhm.
CDs could hold more data. So even as a kid, I saw that this was something special. So when the PlayStation dropped, and again, the PlayStation came out, I think
We got it
after
September of
we got it
95.
November. Yeah, we got it September of '95 after the Saturn. So the Saturn had come out at that point
Mhm.
too. But
Oh yeah, I forgot about
yeah,
the
most people forget about the Saturn.
Oh,
But when the PlayStation dropped, yeah, I mean, that was my first real foray into obviously a standalone CD based system. And I just remember being blown away because when I bought it, if I'm not mistaken, the first game I bought to go with it was Tomb Raider.
okay.
Tomb Raider, and there were two games I remember buying when I got the PlayStation first. It was Tomb Raider and Power Moves Pro Wrestling,
Oh yes,
and I loved that game. Power
that game
Moves
was
was great.
great. That was for
Yeah.
us. That was a precursor to the N64, WCW, and WWE
Yep.
games. So,
Yep. Well, that and WCW versus the World. You remember that
oh
came out on
yes, yeah, I
PlayStation
have
as
a
well.
signed copy by Sting.
There you go. See, so yeah, so like playing Tomb Raider and Power Move Pro Wrestling, I fell in love immediately. I was like, wow. I was like, the future's here. Playing games on CD, nothing's gonna get better than that. And you know what? But you know what? For a very long time, nothing did get better.
That was true for a while.
For a very
Do
long
you
time.
remember? Did you get it at launch or did you get it that
No,
Christmas?
I did not get it at launch. I got it later. I don't remember. I don't remember the details around me buying it.
Okay.
Um, yeah, see, because two things happened, I believe, in 96, if I'm not mistaken. It was I got a PlayStation and I got an N64, and I'm pretty sure I got the N64 first,
Mm-hmm.
and that I know I got at launch.
Okay. Yeah, so did I. I remember both of us doing that. I mean, we bought it separately, but I
Yeah.
remember us getting it at launch. You're right, because I did not. I remember vividly. Actually, I can tell you if I can look up when it was released. I can tell you exactly when I got a PlayStation. My first PlayStation is also my first used console to this date. Short of like rebuying something, but I'm talking about like for the first time owning a particular console. It's the only console I ever bought used. I was in college. It was in college, and I remember like I played your PlayStation. Obviously, when we hung out, you had
Yep.
PlayStation before I did. And we had a ton of fun playing on the PlayStation. You know, you had your Power Rap of the Rapper, which I still really never played, but I do want to
Ah,
play. I've never owned it. So I do want to play it.
you can get
Uh,
it digitally.
I can, and I'm waiting for it to kind of go on sale, but I don't think it's going to. So I might just have to pull the trigger on it. It's on the PS5. Well,
Yes.
PS4. Um, so I remember vicariously living through you with the PlayStation, seeing all these games. I'm like, why? Like, why am I not? And it was for no other reason than I just wasn't attracted to it that much where I wanted to own it
Right.
until, oh, here we go, March of 2000. So in 2000, this system came out
Wow.
in 95 for us. I
Yep.
bought it March, maybe shortly thereafter, when the WWE announced that they were releasing SmackDown on the PlayStation.
Right. And it was PlayStation only. It
Yes,
was,
yeah, it was
yeah.
exclusive to PlayStation, still is.
Mhm.
And it came out here in North America March 2nd of 2000. And it was at
Mhm.
that point I'm like, well, it's time to get a
Yeah.
PlayStation.
Well,
And
yeah, because up until then you were still the Nintendo snob,
I would not say a snob. I just picked and chose what I wanted to purchase and play.
which was always Nintendo.
Hey, look, hey, look, that N64 got me through the first year of college, first 2 years of college. At this
Hmm.
point, I am a 98 to 99, 99 to 2000. I'm a sophomore.
Yeah.
So I'm a sophomore in college at this point. Rocking my N64 in college. Again, the nights of playing Mario Party, Pokemon Puzzle League. Yes, folks, Pokemon Puzzle League was huge on my
Yeah.
dorm floor. I mean, we had tournaments with that, which in a co-ed dorm didn't sit too well with the opposite sex. But here we are. We're having a blast, though, having fun with it. And GoldenEye, of course, which
Of
started
course.
many a fist fights. But in any event, yeah, and when this game came out, I'm like, all right, it's time to pull the trigger. So I bought the PlayStation, what, 5 years later,
Wow.
almost well, four and a half at that point. So I was definitely late to the game, but once I got there, it was game on for me. And I remember booting it up for the first time and you know, hearing the music, not just because it was a WWE game. I'm just talking about just the quality.
Right.
I already knew it was better than the Sega CD. And Sega CD has some great music on those games. But just hearing the music, seeing the graphics, you can say what you want about the graphics in 2024, but in 2000 they were mind blowing. And oh my gosh! And then just quickly falling down the rabbit hole of
Mm.
PlayStation games. And there was a Blockbuster not far from college campus, Adelphi University. There we go.
Ah, there you go.
Again, because of the PlayStation, I ended up getting a Blockbuster. That's when I first signed up with Blockbuster on my own. Like my parents had one, but I had one to rent PlayStation games.
PlayStation games.
So yeah, so for me, I was a late gamer at this one.
Oh yeah, you were way
Yep.
you were way late. I didn't think you were that late on
Well,
the
yeah.
I didn't think you were that late on the PlayStation. And the reason why I thought you got it a little bit earlier because I know wrestling games kind of are a good driver for you to buy
Mhm.
a system, but I thought you got a PlayStation earlier because there was Warzone and Attitude, but then I also forgot they were on the N64 as well.
They were on the N64, but I also played those a lot at your house, and I
Mhm.
wasn't 100% crazy about them. The
No, and
games,
neither was neither
yeah,
no, neither was I. There was the whole the button combination thing that
that's
you would
what it
use in
was.
like yeah, because a wrestling game is not Mortal Kombat. You can't memorize your
100%.
moves like that. It's just
100%.
insane. Especially when you're talking like rosters of 50, 60 wrestlers, which
Correct.
the
Or
attitude
12
is.
on the N64. But you're
Yes.
right. But I ended up getting those games on the N64. But when I got the PlayStation, and then beyond that, some of like the alternate uses for the PlayStation. Kind of like how I've never
Mhm.
owned originally or for a main television. I owned one for like my bedroom TV, but I have never owned a proper standalone DVD player or a
Yep.
proper standalone Blu-ray player. It's always been a video game system.
Yep.
My
And
PS2 was my DVD player for the longest time, even way beyond the lifespan of the PS2. But the PlayStation was ended up becoming my stereo, my CD
mhm.
player,
Yep.
because, and I'm talking, what's what I'm looking for? Not graphically, but just technologically speaking. At
Mhm.
that time, the PlayStation, the original PlayStation, was the best music CD player to own. Forget about a high-end stereo system. The PlayStation played music the best if you had a proper setup for it. So
Mhm.
I just ended up hooking up through a couple stereo speakers, and that's where my CD player was.
Awesome. It also allowed you to do something you couldn't do on other systems originally, to my knowledge at least. You were able to access the soundtracks of the games themselves if you went into the
Some.
media portion. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them. But it was just a really cool
Yep.
bonus to be able to do that.
Well, a fun bonus if you flip that around is if you put the game into a normal CD player.
Yes.
Still, sometimes you got some tracks. Sometimes you got like a hit, like a special, like, hey, you can't do this. What
Mhm.
are you doing?
Yep.
But I think most famously is like Castlevania Symphony of the Night does something, I think. Oh, no, you might just be able to play the music off of that one. But a lot of
Mhm.
people played that game just on a regular CD.
Yep. Yeah. Just
Um,
really, really cool.
your thoughts, I'm just kind of doing something with the memories here. Your
Yeah.
thoughts on the underside of a PlayStation video game, PlayStation
Oh,
CD,
the
the
wonderful
black.
black discs.
Did you think it
Black
was
disc.
originally speaking? Did you think there was like, oh, this is something Sony does, so as like a lockout mechanism or something?
No, I mean because at the time I didn't care to know that information. Like I never thought about like at that point I wasn't like pirating wasn't a thing in my head. When I remember seeing it for the first time, all I thought was, "Oh, cool!" I go, "It's just another way to differentiate their discs from other, like from the standard CD on a
Hmm.
PC or some other console." So that's all I thought it was. I didn't think anything more of it. I was like, "Oh, cool!" And again, it was black. And if you know me well enough, anything black, I'm like, "Oh, cool! It's black. It's nice and dark. I like that." So
Well,
I like darkness.
my old friend. I
Yes.
definitely thought it was a proprietary thing, like for a lockout or something,
Hmm.
because I've never seen a colored underside to a CD before. It
Yeah.
didn't even like if when you look at a CD or DVD nowadays, Blu-ray, like there's that shininess to it. Like this was like a matte black finish.
Yeah. Like
So I
total black.
definitely thought, yeah. So honestly, it took me a long time before I realized I could put a PlayStation video game CD into a normal CD player because I just didn't
Yeah.
think it would spin. I didn't think it would read it. So
No, yeah,
yeah, so
that
I
makes
thought
sense.
it was a proprietary thing. Later on, it came out, had nothing to do with it. It was just, like you said, just something Nintendo did because no one knew that apparently except Anthony back
Sony,
in 1996. Sony,
Sony.
yeah. So, and then later, but that also because of the black underside of the PlayStation CD, later on, companies would release color blank CDRs and
Yes.
that kind of became a thing for a while. Then I ended up buying like red, green, blue, maybe
Yep.
not blue, but like red, green. I think it was one color that literally could not be used. But and then I'm like, oh, I got all these colored CDs now because of the PlayStation. It's like these
Yep.
little things, these little things that
Yeah.
mean nothing in the long run. But I remember because of the PlayStation, that's what made me like do these other things. And that's what I love. To me, that's what the core of a memory is with these systems.
Yeah. Well, I remember when somebody introduced me to how you could copy games.
That was my next thing because
Yep.
yep, I remember vividly what happened there.
Yeah, I remember that, and it's like once whoever cracked their the fail safes and security stuff that they put on those things, it was just man, could you go to town?
Do you remember
Like
that?
I just remember, I still have my original PlayStation, my PS1, and I still have the boot disc
Okay,
to do Japanese games
I
because there was
remember
a
that. I remember you
yeah because
having
they
that.
were yeah because I bought a few Japanese games, but you had to have a boot disc for it, and then there was a little spring and a sticker that you had to put inside the system so that it would read
Oh,
Japanese games.
I didn't know about the sticker part. I knew about the spring,
Yeah,
but not the sticker.
there was just this little sticker that was blocking something. I don't know what it
Oh,
was blocking.
interesting.
It was blocking something so it would be able to read the disc without issue.
Oh, interesting.
Um,
I
but and that was another element to it. But the whole idea of like once you were able to copy games, again, you had your Blockbuster
I did.
membership late. I was like, I had a spindle full of copy games for a while because
I
that
also
everybody
worked at
would just
a rental store.
Well, I did work. Yeah, I also worked at a video store. That helped. So.
um, the I remember, and I told the story before, but I'll tell it again for new listeners. I remember walking into the University Center at Adelphi. So this is already after purchasing the PlayStation, and they always would have one little vendor there, like someone locally on Long Island,
Mhm.
would sell different tchotchkes or whatever like that. So this one woman was there. She wasn't her main purpose wasn't video games. I don't remember what she was selling otherwise, but she had this little tray of game or CDs. So I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
what are they? I didn't even know still what they could have been music. So I go over, I look at it, but they're games and they're PlayStation games. So I'm like, what is this? Like, it didn't even dawn on me yet
Mhm.
that you can copy games. So I asked her about it. She's like, yeah, these are full PS1 games. I'm like, oh, okay. But then she started to explain to me that you needed this special adapter for it. Now, the adapter I
Yep.
bought plugged into the back of the PlayStation. Now, what was cool
Okay.
about this adapter, it also doubled as a giant memory card. So
Nice.
I never really purchased original memory cards because I had this like one that like was like 32 memory cards in one. So I never needed a
Oh,
memory card.
nice.
Yeah. So, but and it also came with a spring because you had to trick the PlayStation into thinking it was always closed. So that was
Correct.
the idea of the spring. And then I'm like, this poor college kid, no money, I wasn't even start working in the bookstore yet. So I'm like, wait a minute. Oh no, I was working in the
Mhm.
bookstore. But I'm like, but I had no money. So I'm like, so I can copy games, and like, being in college, I'm gonna rival up against the authority, and I'm gonna do what I want. Just don't tell
That's
my
right.
parents. And then also it dawned on me as well because again, looking at a PlayStation CD, looking at the under, this is just what I was going through. Looking at the black underside of the CD, so I'm thinking these CDs storage wise are larger than normal CDs. Now by then we've had CDRs and CDRWs, so I knew about burning
Mhm.
CDs, but not video games. I never realized until around this time that the PlayStation games are the normal size memory capacity as a regular CDR, which meant you
Yep.
can easily copy to a normal spindle of CDRs. Again, another mind-blowing situation. So yeah, so I bought a giant pack, is like 100 CDRs,
Yep.
blank CDs, went to Blockbuster, rented like 12 games, or I think five. I think you were allowed to limit like 5 games. I would rent tons of games at a time, burn them back at college. And I remember my first playthrough of any really PlayStation game. There you go. Which
I
one
still
is that?
have a.
Oh, a
I still
spindle.
have. I still have a spindle. These are all blank, but still CDRs.
The fact you even need blank spindles. That's like when I go into Rite Aid and I still see blank VHS tapes for sale.
Yeah, and you're like, why are they there? It's like, you know what? Because I'm of a generation of you never know when you might need one.
so
But I
uh
do
so
still have a spindle.
and my first play of Spider-Man on PlayStation was totally bootlegged on this CD.
I think
So
mine was as well until I bought it. Till
yeah, I
I
bought
did
it down
one.
the road eventually. But yeah, no, that was a whole new ball game. And I remember what he had.
It really was.
I didn't have a boot up CD. I had to you put in a regular game, let it
Mhm.
start up, and then at some point after the load screen, it stopped, and then that's when you switched it out, and
Yep.
then it would load up the booted game. So
Correct.
yeah, oh my God, so much memories. Did we play? I mean, we did, me and you, and some of our other friends, because you had the multi-tap for the PlayStation. So
I
there
did.
definitely were some multiplayer games. I don't remember playing a lot of multiplayer games beyond two players in college.
No, I mean, to be honest with you, I believe I only bought the multi-tap when SmackDown came out because I think that was
Because
the
of us.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the only reason to buy the multi-tap. I don't remember playing that many four-player games. All of our four-player games were N64
They
at the
were.
time.
And
They really were.
usually wrestling games, and Mario Party. But
Not Mar- Yeah, we did a lot of Mario Kart, and Mario Party at the time.
we did.
But yeah,
Uh,
but for PlayStation, no. Most of my PlayStation experiences were the solo games.
mhm.
I did more solo gaming on that system than I did any other system at the time.
I'll agree with you on that one. I did the same thing as
Yeah.
well. What about the time when, and I remember when you started getting these in, you touched on it before, and importing
Yeah.
these Japanese games. You had a
Mhm.
great handful. And again, back in like 98, 2000, it was almost unheard of. Like, what is this far off land called Japan?
Yeah. Well, at the time, like you said, at the time, I worked at a video store, and this was like more. This was more like 90. I want to say like 97.
Yeah, it was a little, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around like 97. It wasn't the end of the 90s, but it was close to it. But I worked at a video store, and one of the perks working at the video store is that we would be able to order stuff, and that included imported games. So I would find games in Japan that I would be interested in, and I would just order them. And I remember just getting, I believe the first one I ever ordered was Fire Pro Wrestling G. So again,
Great.
wrestling game, and again, and the main reason for ordering something like that, I knew nothing about the Fire Pro Wrestling franchise in Japan and how big it was, like the game franchise.
The only thing I think we knew was that they had they bootlegged the WWE and WCW wrestlers, which
Together.
you would
Yep.
together in one game that you would never be able to license here.
Right.
That's
And
what
that was
sold us.
well, that's what sold us. And then you had all the Japanese wrestlers in there.
Well,
So
that
you
on top
had
of that, yeah.
right. So you ultimately had a video game with every major wrestling organization in it.
Mhm.
So it was a no-brainer to buy it and play, to buy it. And it was just really cool to boot that up and just to be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to do Hulk Hogan versus Shawn Michaels or Stone Cold Steve Austin or Triple H or whatever it was that you wanted to do. Like you could mix it all up that way, which was something obviously you couldn't do in the States with any wrestling game.
No, absolutely not.
Not until I think Legends of Wrestling series was like the
That
first one that
started to, yeah.
did
And then,
something like that.
did you have any weird peripherals for the system?
Oh, the peripherals. No, PlayStation 1 for me was pretty straightforward. I think it was just I had I think the multi-tap was the only real peripheral I ever bought.
Yeah, I had a multi-tap too, and I don't know why. I think I just bought it for the sake of being like, I might have friends over one day.
You're like, I'll make friends with this.
Wah wah.
Well, well.
Same with me.
But no, I don't. Do you remember any peripherals that stood out to you? I like the idea of us just going off of memory and not diving into the internet.
1,000%. And I have one in my hand, but it's not original. I bought it within the last year. I showed it before, but the Pocket Station is the only one I remember seeing in magazines, and never owning. Well, it was only available in Japan.
Here's my Pocket Station.
Oh, look at that! That is a pocket bus.
Oh, yes, it is. He is. He's like the cat bus from that Miyazaki movie.
So, and of course the PlayStation, the Pocket Station, very much like the Dreamcast VMU. You pop the thing up there. There's your memory card. I don't have a battery in it right now, so it's not working. I had one in there before, so I think it's dead. But this was the only one that I remember seeing from Japan. Like, oh, that's cool to have. Otherwise, I never had a light gun for the PS1.
No.
Never had the mouse. Again, I had the multi-tap, but I don't know why. And beyond that, though, I really didn't have any other. Another one that I had again, though, later on, because I ended up buying, me, always have to have the newest version of something.
Of course.
When they redesigned the PlayStation, that's where we get PS1. So
yes,
whenever anyone, even to this day, when someone says PS1, the system that pops into my head is the smaller redesigned PlayStation. If someone says PlayStation, I'll remember the original gray box.
You think the original one. Yeah.
But if I hear PS1, I think the original. And again, I didn't have it originally. I only bought it a few years ago. I ended up actually selling it back. I don't know why, but it's just I didn't need it. But I was like, let me just get rid of this. Was the Sony screen that attached to the PS1. That made it very portable. Yep. So that was, again, one I didn't have originally, but I did have it, and actually it was very fun to play. It was actually very crisp to play on that, but I had trouble hooking it up through there into the TV, so I'm like, why even own it? But in any event, those are the only two, and again, I owned them within the last 2 years.
Yeah, and I was going to say, there was something I was going to sidebar on when you were saying, I was going to sidebar and say, have you turned on your PlayStation 5 this past week for the 30th anniversary backgrounds and audio?
I absolutely have, and for a limited time only, apparently, and I don't know how long that limited is, but it's limited. You can boot up your PS5 with the choice, like Anthony said, of either a PS1 boot up, PS2, PS3, or PS4. It'll boot up with the sound, and the background will be reminiscent of that system. Now, let me ask you, what system are you using?
Well, the first few days I did PlayStation, and I loved it. I've now switched the last couple of days to PlayStation 2. And I
Oh, you mean
forgot. Yeah, like I was working my way through. I was going to work my way through it, but then I realized I never owned a PlayStation 3, so the visual and sound aren't not like I don't recognize them. So
mhm.
it doesn't. And I have I still have a PlayStation 4 hooked up, so I'm not interested. So I basically just go in between 1 and 2. I forgot how memorable the PlayStation 2 sounds were because as soon as it started up, I was like, oh, I was like, these were awesome.
I I tried the PS1, but you're right. I've had it on PS2 because that was
Yeah,
my favorite. You're right, favorite boot up, favorite background. I mean,
yeah,
PS3 was nice, but I ended up you can change the background on the PS3, so that's
yeah,
what I did mostly.
yeah.
But
But I
no,
do
that's a
love the
very
PS.
cool.
I do, yeah. The PS1 is still great too, though.
Very
One
cool
and two.
throwback with PS5. And Sony's
Yep.
been doing a good job with promoting the 30th anniversary of the PlayStation. They had a really nice video of like the history of
Yes.
PlayStation. Good luck getting your hands on the 30th anniversary PS5. I'm not even
Oh
talking about
boy.
money wise. I'm just talking about availability. That isn't a
No, yeah,
scalper.
that's just not gonna happen. Um, but one other thing I wanted to touch on because we've been kind of going back and forth and all over the place. But when you think of your PlayStation, I know you already talked about it, you bought it for SmackDown, but what are the other games that just literally pop off your head when you talk about the PlayStation? We're
Okay.
talking PlayStation One,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
PlayStation
PS1.
One.
Yep, yep. Spider-Man, the
Okay.
first Spider-Man on PlayStation. Fantastic. I'm back then, now I'm a big shoot 'em up player. But back then I
Yep.
was kind of into puzzle games.
Yep.
So I remember owning Mr. Driller on PlayStation.
Mm.
Got a lot of gameplay out of
I
that.
remember Mr. Driller.
Um, got a lot of gameplay on only because I bought it by accident. I thought it was the original Metal Gear Solid game, but I accidentally bought VR missions without realizing it.
Oh,
But I ended up enjoying VR missions, so I played through
okay.
a lot of that. Um, just have to give me a moment to think back a little bit more on some of the other games. Actually, you know what? Let me pull up of all my systems.
Yeah.
Now, granted, again, I've told this before that a lot of them were lost in Hurricane Sandy. But
Yep.
even though I lost, no, I didn't lose PlayStation. I had the PlayStation with me. So my PlayStation 1, which is my original redesigned PS1 that I've owned,
Yep.
and the games are all original I still have. So let me just pull up my collection.
Nice.
Um, but I'm trying like GTA. I had the first GTA
Oh
on
yeah.
PlayStation 1. GTA London 1969. Absolutely
Yep.
love, especially after Austin Powers came out. That's pretty much all it was about. Um, and then probably what, even though I was a fan of them, not as big as I was today, but R-Type Delta is a great game
Wow.
on the PS1. Oh my
Okay.
gosh, the graphics were gorgeous on it. Ms. Pac-Man, Maze Madness.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
eventually that was more on Dreamcast, and I think about it. Only recently I had to rebuy it on the PS1 because it wasn't working
Mm.
on my Dreamcast.
Oh.
Um, and then that's really like those are the big ones for me. Again, R-Type, like I said, R-Type Delta. Not the Resident Evil games, really wasn't into it that
Yeah.
much. Not the Tomb Raider games. I've tried
Yeah.
them. I didn't like them, like I told you. Of course, I'm not mentioning Spice World because it goes without saying that is the greatest game of all
Right.
time on the PlayStation.
That is the one that belongs in everyone's trash heap.
So there is no need for that. The Tony Hawk games I played on the N64. So
That's right. You
I didn't play
did.
them on there.
You did.
Um, but then
The-
there were like the other things I remember were the budget games.
I would love to say I heard the last 10 seconds, but my wire came out.
The other ones that I remember are the budget games. I remember PlayStation
Oh,
was the first system to really start not talking about like a player's choice or best selling or whatever,
yes.
but purposely came out with $10 games,
Yes. Very
brand new.
simple games.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, now don't get me wrong, they are $10 games for a reason, but that's not a bad thing. And
Yep.
those simplistic games, card games, boxing, like these are the actual
Yep.
titles of the games. Um, Shooter, what was it? Shooter Space Shot was a fun one.
Yep.
Oh my God, those budget games were so much fun to play. And then finally, two more to mention. Uh, the PlayStation was my first kind of retro system, meaning I remember
Oh,
buying
yes.
retro games for it, like the old
Mhm.
arcade games, the Midway
Yep.
games, things like that.
The classics collections that they would come out with.
Tons of collections came out on the
Yes.
PS1 on PlayStation. And then my other go-to game before Call of Duty came out, and I like this series over Call of Duty. I still say it today. Medal of Honor.
Medal of Honor.
Those first two games, that for papers, all your papers, those first two games, oh my gosh, they are so good. So those are my fun go-to games and histories, my personal histories of the PlayStation.
Nice. That's a solid list. That is a very, very solid list.
Yep. What about you? What games were
Ooh.
they American? Were they Japanese?
They
Did
were
you have to
they were
dance to them?
they were definitely a combination of them for sure. Well, you mentioned it, like I said, like I played more, I think, single player games on the PlayStation than I did any other
Me too.
console.
Me too.
So Resident Evil was a no-brainer for me. I've been a huge horror fan since I was a kid. So when Resident Evil came out, that was it. That was the epitome for me. And Resident Evil 2 is still my favorite of the series.
Okay.
Yeah, Resident Evil 2. So Resident Evil, hands down. Tomb Raider, absolutely love Tomb Raider. That first one, I'll always remember playing my way through it. In fact, it was only a couple of years ago that I played through it again, the original one. And now I have a remastered version to play through sitting right here.
Yes. Hopefully, if it's not scratched.
Yeah, hopefully. So Tomb Raider, I definitely have to say. Cannot talk about the PlayStation without talking about Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII. If I didn't I was not an RPG player to a big degree until Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII really opened my eyes to just how great an RPG game could be, and it started me down a path to revisit things that I didn't know existed. Like before Final Fantasy, my only two RPGs I think that I really played were Super Mario RPG, and you can't even really, I don't know, like this is more of a tactics game, but I would consider Shining Force an RPG as well.
I would consider it an RPG. Yeah, tactics didn't come out. That term I think came out later. Originally, yeah.
But those were the only two I played before Final Fantasy VII, and when Final Fantasy VII came out, I just fell in love. Absolutely fell in love with what an RPG can do. So those are like three of the heaviest hitters. Then getting into like other stuff, obviously the wrestling games we talked about. You name it, I had it. I had every wrestling game on the PlayStation you could think of, including some Japanese imports, which was great. You mentioned about dancing, Busta Groove, and Busta Groove 2, which was I got the Japanese import for Busta Groove 2. I never had the American version. But that introduced me to dance style games, which I didn't really know before. Puzzle games. The one puzzle game on the PlayStation I will always remember and always love, Devil Dice.
Yes, you do.
I played Devil Dice. I played Devil Dice to no end, and not only that, my mom got hooked on Devil Dice. I don't know how that happened, but my mom was a big Tetris fan, but she got hooked on Devil Dice. She loved Devil Dice so much. So Devil Dice is another one of those ones. And then going back to the horror genre, there was a series on the PlayStation that I discovered called Tecmo's Deception that I fell in love with. And now I own all of them.
That's awesome.
I think. Yeah, I own every one of the ones in the franchise, which was great.
On a side note, I'm sure you own the original copy of Devil Dice, but Devil Dice was one of the games on the Japanese PlayStation Classic.
Yes, it was on the Japanese one. So I do not have it on my crappy PlayStation Classic, the American one.
Oh my God.
Staying in the horror genre, Clock Tower. I've talked about it so many times.
Yep.
Absolutely love Clock Tower. In fact, as of today, I'm still waiting for my limited run.
You still haven't gotten it yet? You know you can buy it digitally at this point. You might as well.
I know, but any day now. It's showing up any day now.
Did it get delivered to Brooklyn?
No. Because somebody else I know ordered it and did not get it.
All right.
So yeah, Clock Tower was definitely on my list. I had a whole bunch of other ones like running through my head, but this one is one probably nobody would care about but me. But and you bought a copy of this because of what was in it, but I've always loved gambling games. I think the first gambling game I've ever owned was Casino Kid on the Nintendo.
Okay.
And since then, that's where I learned to play blackjack and poker.
Wow.
Was Casino Kid. And since then, I've always loved gambling. The game that came out on the PlayStation, because I had Vegas Stakes on Super Nintendo as
Hmm.
well, but on the PlayStation, a game came out, a 2-disc game called Golden Nugget.
Yes.
And one disc was the straight up game where you just went
Hmm.
into the casino and gambled. The second one was like this weird murder mystery thing, story that goes on through the Golden Nugget. And the main character in the game is Adam West.
It really is. You're right. That's the sole reason why I own that stupid game.
That is the only reason I own it, is to actually, yeah, you join Adam West on this journey into discovering, whatever happened. I don't remember
Adam
exactly.
Wee.
Adam West. But Golden, yeah,
Uh,
Golden Nugget, I remember. I'm trying to think of what else. There were so many games, but those are the ones like literally that just pop off the top of my head.
all right.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, the PlayStation, oh my gosh, it was so much fun, so different. It was kind of like it was at first that hip, like, we're different, we're the alternate, we're not
Yep.
Genesis, we're not Sega, we're not Nintendo. And then again, the way how it's everything's got to start somewhere. I know it's very cliche, but that's how life works. So
Mhm.
it started as this attempt to be an add-on. All it was going to be was an add-on to the Super Nintendo.
Yep.
And then, because of being ghosted or whatnot, they ended up going off on their own, and they became this global empire that, look at what we have today. Forget about the systems themselves, just the
Mhm.
the the cultural impact on those four. They're not even letters. They're just designs as your buttons:
Yep.
square, circle, triangle, and cross.
X.
Cross. And
X.
that you call X, but you don't call XX, but you'll call cross X.
What do you mean? I call X X. X is
Um,
the button on the PlayStation controller.
just the impact in music and look at the movies that we've gotten.
Yeah.
Our friends over at Rebel Monkey Production made Memory Card, which remiss
That's
that I
right.
haven't mentioned it already, but you can watch now the full short Memory Card on YouTube. Go check it out. It is a great flick. And someone might be featured in the high score screen as you watch it, and stay through the credits when you watch.
Yes.
Also, while we're at it, another quick shout out, because they've also just put out, and it just dropped on YouTube, their newest short, Alan Wake, based
Oh,
on the Alan
nice.
Wake
Okay.
movie.
I
Yep.
didn't
I,
realize it came out already.
I didn't get a chance to watch it yet. I plan on watching it, but
Okay.
Memory Card is definitely available, so go check it out.
Nice.
So, all these wonderful things that are happening or have happened because of the PlayStation, it's you know, can you think of a world now without the PlayStation in it? Like, who knows where gaming would be nowadays? You know what I mean? You never
I
know.
don't know. A world without PlayStation, there would be a desolate wasteland.
It would be boring because the Virtual Boy would have taken over.
Right. That's why the world would be a desolate
How dare
wasteland.
you, sir? Got anything else fun to say about the PlayStation?
I mean, I can sit here for hours and we can just talk PlayStation if you want, but this is a show and it's limited.
We Well, folks, let us know your wonderful memories. Memories, that's what we love about this. Memories of the
Yes.
PlayStation, anything that links, your life to it's your life. Let us know. Hit us up on social media. And where can they find us?
You guys can find us on Facebook.com/Retro Gamers Podcast, on Instagram at Retro Gamers Podcast, on Cross at Retro Gamers Pod. I'm sorry, I meant Twitter.
X.
You can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. You can watch us on YouTube and Spotify at Retro Gamers Podcast, or you can email us at email@theretrogamers.com. All right, Larry, something we wanted to talk about. We've been talking about this for the last few weeks, but for those of you out there who are looking for some more information on retro gaming and you happen to like good old-fashioned magazines, we have Old School Gamer magazine here.
The hell is that? Oh, it's a magazine. Okay.
It's a magazine. It's a
I haven't
physical
seen one in
thing.
forever.
Look, you open it.
What
and
is
you
going
read
on?
it.
What is
Old School
that?
Gamer magazine. Yes. So this is the Akari Warriors Thunder Stick Studio Stick. I don't know. It's a
Cool.
skin on that studio. But anyway, Old School Gamer magazine. Really, really cool. They cover all kinds of different topics. Every issue has a different theme to it. And yeah, it just brings you back to it really brings you back to the glory days of gaming, the way that we do, just in print. So
Basically.
yeah, basically. And for those of you who do not want to have a physical copy, they also have digital subscriptions
Thank
online. You do not have to get a
goodness.
physical one. I personally get a physical one because I travel a lot. It's easy for me to throw this in like a backpack and read on a plane.
Or just load it up on your phone digitally.
Like I said, it's easy to throw this in my backpack and read on a plane. Because you know
Oh,
what? Phone screens are small.
don't get me
Not
started.
to
It's
read
one
on.
of the few
You want
things
me to start talking about reading small
I'm not
screens? I
gonna
don't want to read
miss.
small screens. So,
Of course, you can check out Old School Gamer Magazine online, oldschoolgamer.com. They also have a Patreon. Go over there, join up with them. You can join them for
yeah.
free or get paid subscriptions there as well. Or again, you can get your print, your digital, or your combo subscription at oldschoolgamer.com. All right, as usual, time to start wrapping things up, and let's get into some news.
All right, some retro news, Larry. This I'm going to start right off the bat with our favorite upcoming console, the Super Sega Plus, Super Sega FPGA.
Is there a small claims court happening at this point?
Ah, as luck would have it.
Really?
Yep.
Someone's suing him? What's going on?
Sega has come out.
Really?
Sega has come out. Sega has approached Super Sega and told them to please stop using their name.
Not hold on. So all right. So as I normally do, and whenever you mention that we're doing news, I start looking it up online.
You start looking it up.
I'm at supersega.com. This is their website. Verbatim in a big yellow box. Sega issued against Super Sega. They are asking for us to stop and destroy all units being manufactured.
I didn't get to that part, but go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. And then their response is in Spanish, so I can't even read it.
Yes, exactly. So, yep. So Sega wants Super Sega to stop creating their. Well, let's just face it; they were never really going to make one.
I had such hopes for this thing.
Nope, they were just not going to make it. There's no way. Everything about this has been fishy from day one. So anyway, Sega has come out and told them cease and desist. We'll see what happens. Yeah, well, cease and desist and destroy absolutely everything you've done or else. So I thought I would start with that bit of bright news. It's kind of fun.
Okay, so you can pull up on supersega.com while the website is open. You can pull up Super Sega's actual response to this, and I had to copy and paste it into Google Translate. So let's see here. We already
how dare you approach us and order pancakes when we're not deciding how to? Is your translator that good?
Almost. What? I'm just going to read bits and pieces, not the whole thing.
Yeah.
All right. So we have no objection to what you indicate on pages 1 and 2, up to the second paragraph of the same, regarding the ownership of the trademarks and patents that your client currently enjoys. They have never intent to damage Sega. They're just doing it as fans of the Japanese company. Okay, this I want to look up. We have been using the name Super Sega for 22 years. Since the domain name was registered in 2002.
Wow.
Interesting. But the third paragraph, wow, it's like beget the first paragraph.
We've been plotting to steal people's money for 22 years. We will not let you stop us.
They're saying no trademark or patent infringed. All right, they're being nice. I was waiting to be like, go F yourselves. We give you the period of 14 days from December 5th to respond to. Oh, so now they're demanding a response from Sega about they're like, look, we're not doing anything bad.
Yep.
They're going to throw Analog under the bus, I think, at some point.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's getting crazy.
That's wild. Okay.
It's crazy.
Very
I mean, the fact that they responded and said, no, sir, you go away, basically.
Hey, you. Get your damn hands off our Sega.
Off our Super Sega.
Oh, my gosh. All right. Well, we'll see how that goes. Yeah, and I hope something happens in the next half hour.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I don't think it's gonna end well for them.
Probably not.
All right. More news. We just spent an entire episode talking about it being the 30th anniversary of the PlayStation.
Did we?
Right?
Okay.
Yes, we did. Did you also know that there was another? I mean, we've talked a lot of anniversaries this year, but there's another 30th anniversary that we did not bring up this year. Specifically last week, same time. The Sega 32X celebrated its 30th anniversary as well.
You mean that got pushed under the door? Oh,
Yep.
man.
The add-on that essentially was the start of the massive decline that is Sega was released 30 years ago as well.
That weird looking mushroom.
Yeah, it's just absolutely terrible. So yeah, happy 30th retro birthday to the Sega 32X. The one saving grace of it is that it still managed to have more games released than the Virtual Boy. It had 40 games were released on the 32X.
How dare you, sir? I think if we didn't already do the comparison. This and you actually owned the 32X, that I remember.
I bought the 32X from
Did you have high hopes?
Land for one reason. No, I bought it for one reason. I wanted WWF Raw. I wanted Quang.
You wanted Quang. We all needed Quang in our lives. Yes,
we did. I was very proud that I had Quang. That just sounds wrong. Moving on. Moving on to some television news.
Oh, okay.
Pokemon TV.
Oh, I saw this.
Is making its return.
Yes.
There used to be a Pokemon TV channel.
It used to be an actual network. Yeah.
Yeah, but they are now they're making their return. It will contain on YouTube. They have an official YouTube channel. It will contain full episodes, live streams, and compilations of the Pokemon animated series. And the channel started on December 6th, so it's already up and running.
It wasn't down for long. The actual network, if you will, discontinued this past March 2024. The backup on YouTube. YouTube, I'm telling you, YouTube is starting to become the place. A lot of these places, Shout Factory has a lot of like live channels that are just running full series. Alf, MST3K, some of these other like sci-fi shows you never heard of. So it's really becoming the place. And I've said it, I don't know if I said it here. I might have said it somewhere else. The single best subscription that you can get of all these streaming platforms is YouTube Premium. Not having those ads is a world of difference.
Okay, well that's good to know.
Yeah,
but yeah, you can check out Pokemon TV channel on YouTube. Larry, we talked last week about. I think it was last week. Yeah, it was last week. Secret Level dropped a teaser for the Mega Man episode.
I loved it.
That episode or Secret Level debuts on December 10th.
Yeah, a few days.
Wait, actually, when this episode drops.
Oh, there you go.
So today, go watch Secret Level. But they released another teaser. Now,
if it's what I think it is, yeah.
Yep, this teaser is getting met with a lot of negativity, and we're talking about the Pac-Man episode teaser.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I watched it. I don't know what's going on.
So, I mean,
look, humans. There's a giant thing coming out of the ground. It looked like something that belongs in the Dune franchise.
Yeah,
than it does Pac-Man.
Pac-Dune. No, and we've seen stills of this. Don't get me wrong. We saw the still of this hooded creature or whatever with this floating orb next to him, and the floating orb ends up being Pac-Man.
Yep.
But to watch this trailer, look, all right, fine. This Secret Level show was always going to be like, kind of like abstract, like reimagining or whatever.
Yep.
But at least when we saw Mega Man, it was kind of on the nose. Like you knew it was Mega Man, and everything seemed to have lined up. Here, I don't know what is happening.
Don't know what's
it
going
looks
on.
like the creature is one of the ghosts, maybe. This is just me being me. I didn't see a pellet anywhere.
Nope.
And that giant creature coming out of the ground. I thought they accidentally mixed in another episode of something. So,
well, I don't know. It's like Pac-Man meets Centipede.
Pixels showed a better Pac-Man right now to me than Secret Level is currently. So
yeah, well, this is going to have to be a wait and see approach. So
I have to. We'll see what's going on.
Weird.
But it's weird. What a drop between the two trailers.
Yeah, so crazy. All right, from the world of TV to the world of music. We've talked about this musician before. His name is Remute.
Oh yeah,
Remute.
I feel like I ordered something of his that I never got.
Yeah, he's well known for releasing albums for consoles. Like he actually makes the albums for the consoles. He has recently released a new album called Digital Bubble Bath for the Nintendo DS.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So yes, so it's so if you're interested, if you follow this guy and you want his new digital album and you have a Nintendo DS, you can buy Digital Bubble Bath on a DS cartridge for 34.99 euros.
Actually, not too bad, to be honest.
There's also a limited deluxe shower edition for 49.99 euros.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
I don't know, but I don't want to watch this guy sitting in a bubble bath while his music plays. That's all I gotta say.
I feel like I ordered like a Nintendo game, like a Nintendo cartridge. Like I said, I don't think I've ever gotten it.
Well, I don't know what to tell you then. All I can tell, well, what I can tell you is that he describes this album as taking you to an irresistible sound journey somewhere between Berghain, Studio 54, and a hot-headed LAN party of the early 2000s.
Because all that type of music just hits me right off the bat. So
all
yeah,
feels.
35 euros. You get a cartridge for the DS, like you said. I think you might also get a vinyl as well. For $50, you get that shower edition, which is a cartridge for the DS and an exclusive Remote branded towel and a sticker.
Yep.
I think along with a vinyl and a digital. Or for 500 euros, you can get the Digital Bubble Bath Ultra Deluxe Shower Edition, which is a hand-signed 60 by 40 centimeter digital bubble bath aluminum print, cartridge for the DS, exclusive Remote branded towel, sticker, and a bath salt. Please do not smoke the bath salt.
Ooh, that could be fun.
We all remember what happened with the Miami zombie. He was on bath salts.
He was on bath salts.
This is insane. He's done stuff for Atari Jaguar, 3DO, CDI. I kind of want this.
Then buy it. I have a DS now. I can buy it.
You do have a DS, yes.
Yeah. All right, moving on. There was one bit of TV news or film news that I forgot to mention. I'm going to go back to.
Okay.
So this is from a company or a group called Slopes Game Room.
Okay.
They have recently released two new documentaries on two retro games. The first one is Choplifter. Do you remember Choplifter?
Love Choplifter.
And the second one is Paperboy.
Really?
Yeah, so they're called Slopes Game Room. And they basically created two documentaries with the history and evolution of these two games.
Okay.
Just really interesting. And and I hit a button. These are...
Again.
I did it again. I want to say these are available on YouTube.
Tell you, man, YouTube. It's the
YouTube.
future, this thing. All right, I'll definitely check those out. It sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. The Paperboy one is very interesting.
Yeah.
So curious about that. All right, moving on to the Nintendo Switch. Larry, this happens every December, or at least the last few Decembers. No Gravity Games is giving away 11 free Switch games this month for Christmas.
I was waiting for this, but I couldn't find anything about it. I'm glad you mentioned it.
It's the Switchmas giveaway.
Love it. Switchmas.
It begins on December 9th. So when this episode drops, it began yesterday.
Okay.
They will be giving away one free game for 11 days. You have to sign on every single day to get each game.
That's the idea.
But there are a couple of other rules to follow. You need to already own one game from the No Gravities game back catalog on the Switch. Doesn't matter which one you own. So you can buy a game from them that's like 99 cents. Means you own it. In addition, the giveaway works as a chain. So in order to get game 2, you have to get game 1. If you miss out on any of the titles, you can purchase them for a discounted price and rejoin the chain. Yeah. So you have to sign on every single day. So as this episode drops, if you missed yesterday's game, you would have to buy it in order to get today's game for free. So
it's very fun to do. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. You do the first one, which is awesome. Then you do the second one, like last year's. A lot of them were kind of the same as the first year. So like I I don't think they put out like 12 new games since we spoke, but
Yep.
oh, actually, what is this? Did they already announce what the games are? They might have already announced what the games are. Interesting.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
And I think it's a couple cat games. So there you go.
Yeah, I already have the. Is it like? Yeah, I have
Cat
the cat
Lord.
ones from. I think I. Oh, that's new. I was gonna say I have a cat game from one of their years. I forgot what it was
You know
called.
what? I think this was last year's anyway. But in any event, very fun to do. Check it
Yep.
out. And hey, listen, it
Yep.
gets you on the Switch. So
Exactly. Another news for the Switch. Not just the Switch, but I think PlayStation and Microsoft as well. But Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind
yes.
drops today,
So
December 10th.
nice.
It was originally delayed on the Switch, but they announced last week that it was actually going to drop on time with everybody else. So
Very
today,
cool to see.
December 10th, you can now own Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind, and it looks like a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it does. It looks like a blast. So I can't wait for that.
Yes. Okay, moving on to the Nintendo Switch Online has expanded once again with another Game Boy game.
Yeah, I saw this. I don't know why they did it this way. It's weird.
Yeah, again, Donkey Kong Land 3 just dropped on the Nintendo Switch Online, which is weird because 1 and 2 had already dropped like a week ago.
But they also
they,
like spread it
yeah.
out. Yeah.
They spread them out and they didn't really announce anything. They just dropped them and
Yeah.
said, here we go.
Well, because again, it's another 30th anniversary that's kind of going under the radar.
Yeah,
Donkey Kong
exactly.
Country's 30, yeah.
So, and speaking of another one, another anniversary, I believe, didn't Tetris just have an anniversary as well?
Well, that was earlier this year was the 40th
Earlier this
anniversary.
year was the 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
So on December 12th, the NES version of Tetris will drop on Nintendo Switch Online as well.
They mentioned that before when they talked about Tetris Forever.
Yes.
This is a very this version of Tetris is very definitive. A lot of people's favorites. I know, Ann, it's your favorite version of the game.
That's the one I played the most.
I go Game Boy, but there's nothing wrong with the NES version. To the fact where like the NES version is the one they use today in the World Tetris tournament.
Yeah,
that's the one they use. So yeah, that's gonna be fun to play when that finally downloads.
Yeah, so that's really cool.
Yep.
Moving on to the world of toys.
Oh.
So images have been released of these new Sonic X Transformer. I'm sorry, Sonic and Transformers crossover toys.
Oh, Sonic X Transformers. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Sonic's X. It says Sonic X.
That's their version of saying crossover. Yeah.
Yeah, crossover. So they are. Yeah, so they are Sonic. So they have two toys that they're showing in the image. One is a blue car. One is a red and gray plane that transform into Robot Sonic and Robot Tails.
What?
They're very weird. They look very, very weird.
Transformers cross Sonic. Look at these things. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, aren't they? They're just weird. I don't know what to think of them.
The picture I'm looking at actually tells you how many steps it takes to transform them.
Yes. Sonic takes 27 steps and Tails takes 32.
Oh, poor Tails.
That's a lot of steps.
It is.
Yeah, because like if I have to sit there, I remember doing my Transformers when I was a kid, they would take like 15, 20 seconds to transform. If I got to sit there for 10 minutes and transform these things, I'm just going to leave them in one state or the other and call it a day.
It's like if you
I'm not doing that.
It's like if you own the giant Unicron.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on from that. This is one that you're going to like. Evercade. Evercade always seems to pop up.
Evercade's amazing.
Evercade is joining forces with SNK to celebrate the artistry and legacy of the Neo Geo. They're going to be working on new Neo Geo products in 2025 and 2026. Details will be revealed in early 2025 in terms of what they're going to be doing.
So I saw the teaser of this. Very excited. I mean, again, Evercade, I'm telling you, folks, if you want a game on a budget, if you want a game collect on a budget, get the Evercade and buy the games when they come out because they do go up in price quickly when they sell out. But in any event, don't know what kind of games are going to be coming out on the SNK, but this announcement alone is almost worth now buying the Evercade Alpha arcade stand because those Neo Geo
those are all arcade.
will work perfect in that system.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And the last bit of retro news I have actually harkens back to my good old Atari VCS that I have here.
Oh, you're gonna be
What
so
a
happy
great
when you start
purchase
playing
this was.
that. It was.
A great purchase.
Don't mock it.
But it's never coming out of the box. But new games are coming to Antstream Arcade.
Yes, another one I saw. Yep.
Yep, they've struck a deal with Disney. You're going to get The Lion King, Jungle Book, Aladdin, Goof Troop,
Oh.
Bonkers, and Little Mermaid.
Oh,
all
wow.
coming to Antstream Arcade.
So I saw the announcement of Lion King, Aladdin, and Jungle Book, which is essentially the Disney collection that's available now, which is
Correct.
fine. That's cool. So it comes like
Yep.
NES, Genesis, Game Boy versions of the games and all that. I didn't realize the other three were coming out. That's cool.
Yep, they are
And
all
then that
coming out.
Antstream is, I'm so happy to see them thriving like that, especially getting like a Disney property like that.
Yeah, they are
So
doing
happy.
a great job.
So happy.
And that is all I have this week for
That
retro
is
news.
it. All right. Well,
Yes.
then let's wrap this up. Ant, one more time, where can they find us?
You guys can find us on Facebook.com/Retro Gamers Podcast, on Instagram at Retro Gamers Podcast, on Twitter at Retro Gamers Pod. You can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. You can watch us on YouTube and Spotify at Retro Gamers Podcast, or you can email us at email@theretrogamers.com.
All right. Well, with that, have a week.
You have a good week as well, Larry. We're here. We're on the doorstep.
Yep. And
Doorstep of the apocalypse.
this is going to be odd to say for the last time, but we will catch you everywhere next week right here on the Retro Gamers Podcast.